Hey everyone, Brendan Snyder here. How are you? Thanks so much for joining me. We've got a cool panel here today to discuss Alan Parsons' project, and in particular, the new upcoming box set for iRobot, second studio album for them, 1977. This came out, expanded to 7 discs. It's due out October 17th, so at the time you're seeing this, about a week later, you're going to be able to grab this. And we really want to get into this here and talk not only about the album, but about Alan Parsons, the project, Eric Woolfson, and the sound in general. But this box set here, I know, hit each of us a little bit differently. And so I want to start with you, Phil, and what your early thoughts were when you saw this box set.
Well, I was very lucky to have gone for the previous one, Pyramid,
Yeah,
as well. So I presumed it was, yeah. So
fantastic as well.
I presumed it was going to follow a very similar design pattern. And sometimes record labels will kind of, although they have a schedule where they're going to cover some of these, they sometimes change the design for the next one. And
Mhm.
we know as collectors when they're not quite the same size on the shelves, it does our heads in.
Drives
But
us
this is
batty.
this this is exactly the same. But I think a lot of people who might be casual fans, yeah, exactly. See, that's what we
Perfect.
want. That's
Yes,
what we want.
this is what we want. Keep doing
That's
this
what we
in
want.
It's
vinyl.
like
Yeah,
the Paul McCartney archive series are all based. Well, Wings Over Americas, I think that was huge.
yeah,
Most of those
yeah,
are all the same size, same concept.
yeah.
Yeah,
All inquiries to the Rolling Stones deluxe sets where they must be using a different company for every single one of them.
right.
No one's talking to anybody. But when you first look at the reverse side of this, and you notice there are, 8 to 10 different takes of the same song, many people will probably think, well, what is that really? Am I really going to be interested in that? But my personal review was because I really like the album, was I tried to think of it as an analogy that, that Eric and Alan are like two master chefs and put together this fantastic dish called iRobot. And basically, it's like one of them or both of them invited you into the kitchen to say, these are the ingredients we use to create this music. And that's the way I kind of view it, is that it's an insight into the process. So if you really love this album, this is a chance for you to actually see how it was built. And the other thing and this is a kind of personal thing for me, was reading from about Eric's family, his daughters and his wife, telling this really intimate story about how Eric, of course, it's called the Alan Parsons Project, but Eric is the lyricist who writes, most of the music in many ways and plays on it. That this is something, there's all this kind of memorabilia they have of their dad, their late husband. And so I felt this with the pyramid set. I felt it was a very emotive set. It kind of moved me in that respect, really. It made me think, I know this is a sideline, about my own dad, when he passed away, there's hardly anything left on this earth that is left behind. Whereas, you know, Eric's family have got all of these tapes, and especially the pyramid one, you've got these little cassettes where he was working in the house and you can hear his kids in the background. I really like this kind of musical archaeology. So for me, the set really ticked lots of boxes in that respect from a very personal perspective.
Yeah, I definitely see where you're coming from on that, and what sort of the way that I approached it was, like you said, where the ingredients are coming together on it, but it's almost the building of the song. And so where the one song, let's say it was a 5, 6 minute song or whatever it might have been, this is almost like the expanded version of a song. It's the real deep prog version where it starts off and you hear the early take on it, and then it's like, okay, this was where the keyboards were recorded, or this was where the orchestration came in. But the way that it's done, it doesn't sound like you're hearing 8 versions of the same song. It's completely interesting all the way through on it. I found myself, it's basically a 3 disc version of the album, and they're just expanded out. And I found that to be really fascinating. Pete, what
Yeah.
was your take in that regard.
Yeah, I mean, let's be honest here. This is a very textured, intricate, well-crafted album to begin with, well-produced album. There's a lot of layers here. There's a lot of things going on. Even though like half of this album is in essentially a pop album,
Yeah.
there's a lot going on here. This is not Kiss Love Gun, right? If we were to get this
Right.
kind of treatment for Love Gun, you'd be like, all right, what really?
Oh, get ready, Pete. It's coming.
Probably, right? Yeah, probably. But like for like one of the things that stood out for me is like when you go and listen to the separated choir
Mm.
on Breakdown.
Yeah,
Mhm.
It's absolutely gorgeous. I wound
absolutely.
up listening to that over and over and over again because it sounds great within the confines of the song when you listen to the whole song. But then when you're hearing it separated out in its naked take, holy shit. It's like so good. And you get that a lot with a lot. And again, the casual fan, we were talking about this off camera. The casual fan is going to look at this and it's like, well, God, this is like a million versions and takes of all the same stuff. Why would I be interested in it? Yeah, the casual fan's not going to care about this.
No.
But for nerds like us who, again, really appreciate this album and what went into it. These are all the building blocks that made this wonderful classic album. And again, hearing a lot of this stuff, the naked take on its own, pulled out from the song, is really fascinating. Whether you're going to listen to this over and over and over again is kind of not really the point. But to be able to hear it, even if you're only listening to it once, two, three times, it kind of heightens our experience of the album itself. And as fans, I think that's like an honor to have had that experience to do that, even if it's only for a few times, right? I think it's a very cool box set. But again, this is not for everybody. This is not for everybody. But this is the album you do something like this for.
Yeah,
There's not a lot of albums out there where I think warrant this kind of in-depth look at all the individual tracks and takes and things like that. This does. This album I've always thought to me, and again, he's associated with the other album I'm going to mention in a second, but this album to me, I've always felt is on the level of a Dark Side of the Moon from a production standpoint, from a songwriting perspective, and the way they've kind of layered in all these cool little things in the studio. This is on that level. It really is. And I'll be honest with you, I enjoy iRobot more than I enjoy Dark Side of the Moon, at least in more recent years. I reach for this way more than that. And I think this is a spectacular tribute to all that these guys put into this album. Now you get to hear everything that they utilized and where it originally came from and how it was originally recorded before it sat into that big layer of each song that we know as iRobot. So I'll kind of stop there. But yeah.
yeah, you're absolutely right with it. And I do think a lot of people are going to look at this. And I know when I did my initial review and posted it, I got a number of comments where people said, I don't need all those versions.
Right.
And not, in my
It's
opinion,
fine.
they're not really versions, though. As Phil, you said, it's the building blocks. It's the things that went together. So if you listen to it and it's a guitar part, and the next part adds in the keyboard part, next part adds in the choir or
Hmm.
whatever, and it's building throughout, and it takes a song that I already really loved, and now instead of it being a 3.5 4 minute pop song or whatever, right now it's expanded and it's 15 minutes long or something, and I get to hear all those different parts. But not every artist can do something like this. This is something.
Basically, what this is giving each one of us
Yeah.
is giving us the ability to be kind of like sitting at the mixing desk
Uh,
and fiddling with all of those knobs, saying, let's just hear the vocals. Let's just hear the guitar. Let's just hear the keyboards. Let's just hear the choir. You now have this here. You don't have to go travel somewhere to sit at the desk to fiddle all the knobs yourself. They're giving it to you right here.
mhm.
Again, it might not be of interest to a lot of people, but
Right.
to a lot of us who really care about what went into the creation of this wonderful album, this is pretty cool stuff.
I
Yeah.
think
Hmm.
also this that we've got to mention the hardback book
Oh yeah.
because he says that tactile aspect of it. Um, I do feel that there are some labels, there aren't many, and Cooking Violin are one of them, where imagine people sitting around the table in most record company meetings saying to each other, what can we take out? Whereas I get the feeling here they thought, what else can we put in?
Mhm.
Right.
I think they wanted to put together something that was complete as possible so that when you listen to this and they say, we talk about the golden age of vinyl, you've got the record on your lap and you're listening to it, but this kind of thing, this hardback book, really gives you almost 360 experience not, with your eyes and your ears, you know, touching the book and everything that you wouldn't get just by going to get the CD. But as we're all going to say, this is for the fan who wants this sort of immersive experience from it.
Can we talk a little bit about this?
Mhm.
Now,
Yep.
I've got plenty of these like media book things where the CD is just kind of sitting in a sleeve on its own, naked, and
Right.
Yeah, yeah,
Well,
this is so you get it in the little cardboard sleeve, but then you get a nice, comfortable sleeve itself, a slot
yeah,
to put it in, and that CD is protected. It's not floating around. It's not going to pop out. How many other media books do you have like that little nub that the CD pushes onto and that constantly flops out? Really
yeah,
well done. Exactly, right?
Right.
Many people complain about, well, when I pull it out, it's going to scratch, blah, blah, blah. And,
yeah,
my first, because I don't have the pyramid set. So this is my first instance of getting one of these Alan Parsons sets. My first thought was like, well, it'd be really cool to have this in the same size as the Tull and the Marillion box sets, right? Because then they all
yeah,
fit
yeah,
together. But this is actually pretty well done. And I think you're comparing it to like the album experience is what makes this work and will be very familiar to a lot of people.
yeah,
mhm. I find this all very similar to the Kiss Destroyer box set, the way it's set up.
There's that
But
kid.
it's very high quality. They have not
Okay.
skimped a bit on it.
No.
And, if we talk about the vinyl, I looked at the vinyl, played the vinyl. It is 180 gram, 245 RPM slabs of vinyl. So
Yeah.
if you know anything about that, if you're an audiophile or anything, you do want that because it plays faster, the grooves are wider, less distortion. And I played it, and virtually the vinyl on this is absolutely stunning as far as, I didn't even have to run it through my record cleaning machine to clean
yes,
it. It
Oh,
was
Yeah.
beautiful.
Sounds
You've
great.
got these polyline sleeves,
yes,
paper.
yeah, yeah,
They put a lot of care into this. And there's some of these box sets, but that aren't quite as, well,
well
they're
thought
not
out.
quite as well thought out. This
Yeah.
is very well thought out. And since you do have Alan Parsons, part of this set, it has to be top notch because I'm sure Alan Parsons might be a bit of a stickler. Um,
Just a little bit.
and just a little bit. But if anybody's thinking, well, I wonder how it, look at this. It is top notch. The binding on the book is great. The book is wonderful to have. Um, and I did want to say something about jump off what Pete was saying. Now, if anybody's familiar with the Pet Sounds box set, it's a similar type of thing. Though I do believe it was just CDs, but that's all right. It was a different era. It goes through and looks at different tracks because Alan Parsons, I think in the industry, is thought of as an absolutely brilliant artist engineer. So you do want to go through that process. You want to go through here. If you're a hardcore Parsons fan, you want to know how he built these tracks. How did they work in the studio? This box set is a documentation of how this record was made.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people can jump in and probably think, well, this is probably, when you think Alan Parsons, this is the album.
Yeah.
That's what I consider. Whether you like everything else, that's fine. But there's something about iRobot that's iconic. And the production here was perfect. Like Pete was saying, Dark Side of the Moon. It's at that level. And to have this treatment on here,
Yeah.
ladies and gentlemen, I'm in.
Yeah.
So it's a well done set. Anybody, and I said that on my review in the warehouse. If you're a hardcore Parsons fan, you need to have this. But yeah, wonderful set. I kind of went on a tangent, but there you go.
No,
No,
not
no,
at all. Not
absolutely.
at all.
But I wanted you to touch on, you did some comparison
I
audio
did.
wise. You want to talk
Now,
briefly about that?
yeah, I thought I'd look at it from a sound perspective. Now, I hang a lot in the vinyl community, and there's a lot of audiophiles over there. And like I said, I looked at the vinyl, I played it on my system, and I thought it was absolutely stunning. The sound of the vinyl, for one, very, very clean. I didn't even have to clean it. And it's very warm and welcoming. There's a great sound stage with the vinyl on a nice system. If you have an expensive system, this record is for you. I also looked at the CDs and I did a couple of charts because everybody's always concerned. Now, if we're spending the amount of money for this box set, this CD better sound good as to the digital aspect of it should sound good. Now, I want to say that this does have the 5.1 in the Atmos. I don't own that. I'm vintage audio people. I don't have that. I can't comment on it. Maybe one of the other people on the panel can talk about it. But I had a couple of CDs that I looked at. I have the original Mobile Fidelity version of iRobot, which is my go-to. And I also have, and this one's a close second. Now you're going to go, oh my goodness, Grant, look at you. This is the original Arista CD that came out in 1984, pressed in Japan, CDR, wonderful sounding CD too. This is my go-to, like I said, but it's a close second. Now I don't have all the Alan Parsons. I don't have everything. What's that one?
This is the remaster, the Legacy edition of
Okay.
That I have.
Actually, you know what? Damn it, I do have that. I
it.
couldn't find
That
it.
sounds really, really good.
This sounds really good. And then I've got the box
Yeah,
set
some people
where-
might have that. Yeah.
Right.
But this is the
I think
Mobile
these are the
Fidelity.
same.
This isn't futzed with. This is before the whole smiley face EQ that they started doing on the gold CDs.
Yeah.
This sounds great. And I compared it. Now, in my charts, I was looking at it. My main concern is, for one, how does it sound? And two, is it maximized? Is it brick walled?
Mhm.
I did not detect any kind of brick walling on the sound. It had a lot of dynamic range. The only thing that I faulted on it was I could see some clipping in the high end. The Mobile Fidelity has a lot more air. The instruments have more room around it. So by the clipping, it kind of clips that air out of it. Now, whether you could consider that hiss, I don't think so. The Mobile Fidelity isn't hissy. But that was the only thing that I had a complaint on, is it looked like the highs were clipped. But it's not brick wall for anybody concerned. So if you're an audiophile, you might be considered, you would really want to know that, because you want it to breathe. You don't want clipping in the, up in the digital register up there. So, but it still sounds good. I think that the mids are a bit more boosted on the box set. And I think the Mobile Fidelity just sounds a lot more natural. That's what probably the tape sounds like, but it's still wonderful. The vinyl on it is, I think that the vinyl pressing is the star of the show.
I would agree.
Absolutely stunning on a nice system. Whew. Beautiful.
I'm going to, well, yeah, I do. I agree that I think the vinyl, the 45 RPM vinyl sounds fantastic. It did with the previous set. It was kind of like, it was a definite
Yeah.
shift where you could tell it was different. I don't have an 11.1 system,
Damn it,
but
Phil.
I do have a Dolby Atmos system, but it's 5.1. So it
Okay.
kind of folds down the speakers that are up near the ceiling to just the rear speakers. So I did give that a run, and I thought it was absolutely amazing. I mean, because he's involved in that,
Yeah.
and this is like a different way for him to express, the music in this, using this new format, really. But I did find that absolutely incredible, sitting amongst, because where it puts you right in the middle of the crate of the music itself. It's all swirling around you, but not in a gimmicky, we'll send that over there and we'll put that over there, and it's like being on a roller coaster. It's not. It's just you're sat, being
I
on
know what you're saying.
you know what I'm saying, but on the deck
Yeah.
of the Starship Enterprise. Yeah, you're kind of it's a gentle journey, but the music is completely just all around you. And some of this, especially with the choir and all that, it's just, it's like being at the cinema.
Yeah.
No, it's really good. I mean, the CD version that's in here is a 2025 remaster, so it is a new version from the last time that they did it, when it was part of the Arista Legacy series, which I thought this was superior at that time. But I think I actually like the newest version best. It has become, what's in the box set is the definitive version, as far as I'm concerned, at least with it. So we've talked
Yeah.
about.
See, I'm kind of different because I'd rather have it sound more like it does. You can always tweak it,
Mhm.
I'd rather have that air. It just sounds like it's not compressed. It just is clipped.
Mm.
And I can, in the headphones, you can really hear it.
Mm.
But that's all right. Hey, audiophile. See, there you go.
No, it's always a good thing.
Audiophiles are always going to bitch about something, Brendan.
They will. But that's testament to the box set because we've got this really good version on vinyl, at 45 speed, right? Two LPs. We've got a new 2025 remaster of the CD itself, but you've also got the Blu-ray, right? So
Yeah.
whatever format you want, whatever,
Yeah.
way you want to experience it. But I think all three of them have a slight different sound to it, right? So you can get that warmer, more immersive sound if you want with the vinyl versus the CD, or go full immersive with the Dolby, on the Blu-ray. But I like that sort of thing when you have that in the box set and you get to experience the album itself in different ways and different sounds. And then like this, it's actually broken down and you can really dive into the individual tracks that build this thing up on it.
I think some people get hung up on thinking that when they see something remastered or remixed, that somehow it has to replace what they already know.
Right.
And it doesn't. It doesn't. This is just a different way of experiencing something that you love.
Right.
Some people,
Yeah, plus,
Well,
Phil, you got a good point because if you're buying this set, you're probably going for it because of the 45 RPM vinyl.
that
You're going
reversion.
for it because the Atmos or the 5.1 or the book and all the information, all the goodies, the press kit. No one mentioned the press kit. There it is.
Well, that was the next thing I wanted to talk about. So dive into that.
Well, I'm just saying there's a press kit very much like the Kiss box set. That's what I'm saying. This is so similar to Destroyer. It's like copied off of what? I don't know. But the Kiss box, it has a press kit too. Just like, so it's like you're going back in time, you're going back in the years, and this is
The
what
original letter is great.
Arista.
That's like I
Yeah, it's
started reading.
great.
I'm like, is this for real? I'm like, oh, this is awesome. That's so
I mean,
cool.
it's the ultimate.
That's my favorite part. And of course, the biography, before you had the internet and people could look things up, they had to send this stuff out so that you had
Yeah.
reference material in order to get the date right of the band or the name or the spelling or the whatever it is. So I love those kind of things. That doesn't exist anymore. Now you get an email, right? Down the
Yeah.
road, it'll just be a
How
digital
personal
file.
is that?
Yeah.
Yeah, some people said, "Oh, isn't there another picture of Alan? It's always the same. It's always the
Well, he
same
just
picture."
got done recording tracks. He doesn't have
But
time
but
for
but
that.
If I
but they
can.
didn't. You got to remember, this band didn't play live, so Alan probably thought, "Well, what's wrong with the picture I took 2 years ago?"
Right.
Right. How
That's it
many
behind the
times does it
boarded Abbey
compare?
Road, damn it.
Yeah.
Well, things back then too, and again, this is before internet. Image was really important, thought about, and if you had that professional photo that was taken, there it is again. Um, they use that. Well, today it's just everything, and you take a video, and it's informal, and it's behind the scenes, and you've got way more stuff out there than maybe necessarily that you want, but it was very curated back then, and that's what this stuff is. Getting this stuff, for the press and whatnot. There's a poster in there as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wonder if that's what the original promo poster looked like.
I bet you it was.
Yeah,
Yeah,
probably.
could be. Yep.
Yeah, see these plastered all over New York City on the construction site fences.
I like
But the
it.
stuff
It's
is
a
cool.
perfect, it's a beautiful
Brendan knows
set.
all about those little sites, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't like anything being posted on my fences, except when it's rock concert announcements. And I'm like, okay, you're
Perfect.
good. So yeah, no, I like this kind of stuff. Some people feel that they don't need it. They don't want to pay, the quote total cost of a box set when it has a lot of this kind of stuff that's in it. But again, I think if you're the diehard fan that is getting into it for all the versions and really diving into it because you love the album, then all that little extra stuff that comes along with it. The book itself, having the interviews with the various people that were involved, whether it be a background singer or somebody who played an instrument on it or whatever. And then the family of Eric Woolfson, they're chiming in on it as well with their memories about their dad when he was recording or what he was doing with it. Again, that behind the scenes really fleshes out the full vision of what the album was. So I like getting that stuff. I love having something to read.
I I love that story when Eric was thinking before they made this album that he was going to have to go back to teaching or something that ain't got enough money. And then he suddenly got that royalty check from the PRS, and him and his family are living in this tiny flat. And he goes out and buys a Rolls Royce.
That's what you did then.
Yep.
And it's a kind of a bloke thing, isn't it? Well, we've got
Yeah.
some money, so what do we need? Well, we need a new, well, we could do new car, new hi-fi.
Right,
It
right.
made
You
me
know,
laugh that he came home and said, look what I've got. And his wife says that the car was bigger than the flat, you know.
yeah, we live in a shack, but a man has a different priority. Well, see, I've got some money. Let's get the Rolls Royce.
Right.
Makes
But it's that
sense.
kind of story, isn't it? That kind of again for the Uber fan,
Mhm.
knowing that about what was going on through Eric's mind, and then he starts work on this album, and and they get the deal, and obviously, they get a very good deal, and they don't have to play live. I mean, think for a moment how unusual that is for an act saying, no, we don't tour.
Yeah.
How do you promote something? There's no internet.
Yeah.
We're not going anywhere. We'll do some radio stuff, but no, we're not playing live.
I'm.
It's amazing.
It's amazing, and nowadays I can't even imagine. I can't even imagine it happening then.
Yeah.
Yeah, there were a few artists that could do it. I mean, Steely Dan being another one that became
I was going to bring him up. Yeah, yeah.
an in-studio band. And, there are other artists that could do something like this because their music was so intricate as well. Very
Yeah.
few artists like that. But I think it's also those studio artists that when we can get a hold of something like this, because there is such limited stuff out there and then limited in terms of touring and all of that, that this is where we can really sink our teeth into it.
Because they're so into the production and the way that they kind of work together, that's why we have all this stuff around. Eric kept tapes like diaries and wrote on them, this is, writing diaries. And so they've kept everything because whereas a lot of bands will go, no, we haven't, I don't know where that went. I haven't got, but they have everything, don't they, to dip into. And and Eric's family can remember, what it was like watching Eric, in the other room, going into his, writing and stuff. I think that's what brings the story alive. I mean, if you're just a casual fan, then start here,
Right.
and get this for about £40 in the UK, and they're all in here.
Well, this
But
is also getting the
yeah,
CD, the remaster is getting a standalone release on
yes, it is. Yeah,
the 17th as well. So, if you
There
just
you go.
want to get the new 2025 remaster, you can also
you
get a
can. Yeah.
single CD.
Mm.
Would be nice though if there had been a two CD where there was a bonus disc that was a sort of selections of pared this down, I think. But
Yeah.
you
But
know,
how would you choose?
I know there's so much there, right?
I know. How would you do it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
How would you choose?
Right. And then sometimes, there's too many of those things on the market. I don't know if it's the Rolling Stones or who, but there will be artists that will do the single disc edition, the two disc edition, the box set, and then over on their website is some super deluxe edition with like one extra disc. And I think it kind of muddies the market, so to speak.
Yeah, there's too many
Agree.
choices. It's
Yeah,
like you get the single disc and this. That's it, right?
that's it.
That's what you
Yeah.
get.
Yeah, I don't know.
But an absolutely fantastic album, as we've all talked about here. It's a classic album that, in my opinion, is my favorite of the catalog. So to be able to get this, be able to hear the background, how it was built. I mean, I went into this box set thinking, I don't know if I'm going to want to hear all those versions or whatever kind of thing. But once I started the second disc, which is what there's disc 2, 3, and 4 that do this,
Mhm.
I totally forgot that. And it just ended. And then I was like, oh, I got to get into the next disc and the next disc. And I just found myself being enthralled by it, being pulled in. And so I'd say that if anyone who's on the fence about picking this up because you're not sure if you, quote, want to hear all those versions, it really is different than like getting a Kiss box set or something that has 5 of the same song, just an alternate vocal or whatever. This actually is building blocks and has a cool, different way to approach the album.
Yeah, well,
Because I
this.
think,
Well, go
sorry,
ahead.
carry on.
No, I'm just going to say this is like an artistic statement. I'm
Yeah.
going to put it up there. It's like a Pet Sounds. It was the way Brian Wilson built Pet Sounds, and you can listen to all those tracks on the box set, and you can see how things develop. But Brian Wilson was a brilliant,
Mhm.
a genius. Alan Parsons,
Genius.
Eric, genius.
Yeah.
This is of that high caliber, so it deserves something like that, I think. And what a perfect record for it.
Yeah.
It's a perfect record. So.
I mean, we briefly touched on it, Pete, you did, where Alan Parsons engineered Pink Floyd's Dark Side of the Moon in 73, right? But before that, Beatles, Abbey Road, and Let It Be, right? So 69, 70, Ambrosia, he did their self-titled album, right? So before he
Yeah, or
jumps,
was it the second one?
no, it was a self-titled in 75. I looked it up.
Okay.
I mean, he
But
might have done
he
the
did
second.
one of them, and that
Oh,
album sounds absolutely
oh
stunning as
yes,
well.
sure, yeah.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But that's, so people out there that are new to the world of Alan Parsons or never really dived into it, though, it's like that's the pedigree. That's where he comes from on things. And moving into doing the first album, Tales and Mystery of Imagination. But the second album, which I think is leaps and bounds above the debut. I think the debut is a great album, but I, Robot, I can't believe is the second album within that.
I think they're all different, aren't they? I mean, side two of
Yeah.
the Edgar Allan Poe one is just so it was like the cinematic, that
Mhm.
orchestral part, and then the one that comes after this one, I, Robot, Pyramid, again is very different. But I think his talent of using, the musicians from the band Pilot and John Miles on vocals and places and great vocalist in his own right. I mean, and he just had a way of knowing. He had like, but what I started saying, it's like a recipe of all the ingredients. He had musicians where he thought, oh, I need John for that one,
Mhm.
and this guy's going to come in for this one. He had people he knew who to bring in for what they were doing. And obviously, Eric is a. We mustn't forget Eric because it's called the Alan Parsons Project, and people always just think it's Alan Parsons, but
Right.
Eric Woolfson is just as important. He
Yeah,
just didn't like
partnership.
to be in
Yeah.
the limelight.
You do have a good point about the singers, because I cannot imagine Breakdown being sung by anybody other than Alan Clark.
Mm.
Mm.
I mean, they knew exactly
Right.
who they wanted to sing it and who sang on the tracks. I don't think I could come up with anybody better.
And I guess the freedom they had was because they weren't going to take it out on the road, so they didn't have to replicate
Didn't
it live,
matter.
did they?
Right.
So
Right.
Wouldn't matter.
they could use whoever they wanted because it
Mhm.
wasn't going to be performed live.
Yeah.
So, that gave them an edge, really.
I always found it
And
interesting that even with all the different artists that they would bring in, each of the albums has a very cohesive sound all the way
Yeah.
mm,
through it. Um, you sometimes don't even realize that it's different vocalists and people just
no,
because it fits the song so well that
Mhm.
that sounds like an Alan Parsons song, and then you go to the next one, that sounds like the Alan Parsons sound, but yet we have all
Yes.
these great guests that are on it, and that's another fun thing too, sitting down and reading who played on what and realizing, oh my god, I didn't realize that guy from that band that I love over here also sang here.
yes, I mean Steve Harley, on The Voice, from Cockney Rebel. I mean that's amazing. But again, even approaching these artists, they must have thought, oh, he's going to want me to play. I've got to go on tour or something. But because no, you're just going to come along, do this track.
Yeah,
It's standalone, and it's sorted.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so I think we all give this a thumbs up on here. I think this is, yeah, I don't think there's any negatives as far as this is concerned. We all love it. And Phil, you mentioned it. There is Cooking Vinyl has done the Pyramid. So if you don't already have this, but you get this and you fall in love with it, there is another box set that you can go explore that is set up the same way. It's got the press kit, got the book, got the individual CDs, got the LP, everything in here. So I got to experience this one last year, I think it was, that this came out. Fell in love with it. When Cooking Vinyl contacted me about this one, I was absolutely, I'm in on it, and glad you guys were able to join in and do this review here. So everyone tuning in on this October 17th, 2025, that is when this comes out. And if for some reason you don't want the full box, as I said, you can get the standalone remaster, which I think is the definitive version now at this point. But as Phil pointed out,
It's also a standalone vinyl as well,
oh, okay,
just
fantastic.
single vinyl one.
Okay,
Oh,
great. It's
oh, is
standalone
it just,
Blu-ray?
you said it's just standard 33, the
Yes, yeah,
third?
yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah.
So not 45.
No.
Okay.
Oh, man, another
I don't
version you got
know.
to get now.
Well, I will say that the 45, the 245 RPM slabs of vinyl,
These
well
sound
worth it.
great. Yeah.
If you
Yeah.
love this record, it's
As
well worth it.
could we just say, as collectors, this we want to encourage record labels to have this sort of approach because this is how to do it, isn't it? If you're going to do a
Oh,
set like this is exactly, I see so many things where some box says that, well, do we need a hardback book? Ah, softback book will be fine. That'll
No.
do.
Yeah.
no.
And as
This,
Pete said, do we need CD covers, cards? Nah, be all right. This is how to do it.
Right.
oh yeah, this, you could put this in the dictionary as how to do a box set.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
can't see anybody who's a serious collector having any issues with anything on this.
Yeah,
No,
absolutely.
yeah.
it's beautiful.
All right, so there you go, guys. Definitely check it out when released on Friday, October 17th. And weigh in. Let us know your thoughts on Alan Parsons, but also this particular album, iRobot, favorite track or what it is that stands out for you, the love behind the album. Certainly weigh in with that because it's definitely one of the favorites for all of us here. All right, everyone. So thanks to Grant, Pete, and Phil for joining me on this breakdown of the fantastic Alan Parsons iRobot album. We'll all see you very soon next time. Take care.
Hi, everybody.
See ya.